Welcome to That Changes Everything, a podcast about whatever we want, whenever the hell we feel like it. I'm your host, Josh, and with me, as always, a man that would love a dead squirrel in a box.
Is that me, BP?
That's you. Exactly. So, do you remember the dead squirrel present that Jesse gave to Frank?
I remember that, but I don't know what the significance was.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of why I said that, because I didn't get it at all.
Yeah, I don't know. He was really worried that Frank wouldn't take it with him, though.
Yeah, he's like, dude, he didn't even want to open it at first. He's like, are you going to open it?
Frank's like, Jesse, you're fucking weird.
Yeah, that was strange, and I don't get it. Maybe we can ask him one day, like, what the hell that was about. All right, so yeah, no, we're talking about Opposite Worlds episodes 7 and 8. This takes place right after Angela was taken out in the challenge with Frank there.
Hottie.
So, what's that?
Angela's a hottie.
Oh yeah.
Sad to see her go.
Oh, bummer. Yeah, we talked about that last week. I mean, that was just weird, and it's funny because like Twitter freaked out about it, man. They didn't think it was fair, and I was like half expecting them to, at actually the beginning of the episode, for them to mention something about it, because it was kind of like a controversy,
Didn't you say you didn't think it was fair either?
Who was that?
You.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. I mean, we talked about it. Like, I mean, the pillars should have been stationary. They should have like really got those rules set before. But in a live show, I guess they just really have everything. They didn't have everything planned out good enough, basically.
Yeah, I think that they, like we talked about last week, they should just do the show and record it and cut it up and serve it up to us like Survivor does. I don't understand the need for a live show.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it gives it a little bit of excitement to it, but if they're not going to do their homework and really have everything ready and have all their bases covered, then they might as well just record it. Absolutely.
I mean,
So,
but what do you think they would have done if it wasn't live? You think they would have reset that and said, "Oh, wait a minute, that doesn't count, Frank. We're gonna have to run that one again." Frank probably would not like that too much.
That's true. No, you're right. And well, but again, I think that again that just kind of is on the whoever the producers or whoever sets up these things in the beginning to, they just didn't. I mean, what is this done at the last minute? They didn't think to make those things stationary, or at least tell Frank, look, you can't just rail through them. You have to go around them.
Or better
Which
yet,
I think
just
they
tell
did.
Angela, "Hey, these things can be knocked down. So
Right.
don't think that he can't just run these right over and come get you. So run, bitch."
Yeah. Or yeah, absolutely. So okay, so this episode, in the first episode, this kind of takes place right after that. The teams are coming back into the house. Lauren and Sam are like right away, like, oh man, that sucked, but gosh, that would have been so great. Like they're kind of like, I think they were, because it was their idea to put her up there, I think, and I think they were just trying to save face at that point. Like they were like, oh, like oh, it would have been so great. She would have had her Samson and Goliath moment, and that would have been so great. And it's such a bummer, but whatever. We're still good.
Who was saying that?
Sam and Lauren.
Oh yeah, no, I don't. They're full of shit, dude.
Yeah, well, they have an obvious alliance there that it seems pretty tight. So and we'll get into that too, but. So okay, so they talked about that, and then soon after that, they showed like the team's kind of getting ready, I guess, for the challenge, and they're running around and they're doing chin ups and lifting bone weights.
Yeah, that was pretty retarded.
And then all of a sudden, like off camera somewhere, you hear like a and JR's like on the ground.
Yeah, apparently he hurt himself running around the cave.
Okay, yeah, and it was weird. They kind of showed this little back area where I mean, I guess it's a little bigger than they think it is. It's another one of those things where they didn't show it on camera. And like, is there a big place in the back there that's not on camera?
Yeah, because they really show you the future house, but the past area they never really did like show you the overall picture of it.
Yeah, no, it's weird. I would like to know like exactly like how that wasn't caught on camera.
But they were saying to Frank that he wouldn't even fit in there to sleep.
Yeah, well, I think that's like in the little sleeping area, like where the fire is, because they all sleep next to the fire.
Okay.
So there's not much room in that little spot. But then it opens up into other areas.
Right.
So yeah, so JR injures his ankle. Like, was it?
They twisted his ankle apparently, or
Okay,
sprained it or something.
right. So like right away, that's kind of interesting part of the show I thought because right away the other team can see that he's injured.
Right.
You know, so so okay. Well, after that they went into like this worldly challenge for the week. So I thought this was an interesting challenge. Like at least it wasn't just straight. Like this was probably the least of like the really I don't know the challenges that you were saying like last week that a lot of them have been dangerous and this one didn't seem as dangerous I guess the blasting
I
caps
when I first had they just first described it, it seemed pretty fucking dangerous. But
right
then when they actually did it, it didn't seem like there was much risk. But they were like, you got to have electricity flowing through this thing that you're working on, and then we're gonna blow this shit up, and like they're digging through this pile of manure that also has a bunch of explosives in it and it's rigged to detonate. Like, what if somebody like grabbed the wrong thing and blew themselves up? You know?
so they have these blasting caps which I just think are like these basically like metal rods that they have to stick in which kind of see and I wonder if the metal rods in the copper conductors and all that really had anything to do with them blowing anything up, or if just at the end they like whatever team it doesn't matter whatever team pushed the plunger down they just hit a button and then it went off. You know what I mean?
I really hope it wasn't rigged up to where the
I'm
team
sure.
was.
No, like
Because if they
I,
touched those connectors or if they touched any of those rods with electricity going through it, they'd probably get pretty shocked pretty bad, you know, or
yeah.
if not electrocuted.
Well, and I guess this is a testament to these challenges. Like they try to make them look real dangerous. Like that first one, which ended up being dangerous. Obviously, they had the high platform, but they had the. I mean, their point was they had these like the what was it the stun gun, like the electrical
Yeah,
shock
yeah,
batons. Which obviously weren't set very high, and that was like the least probably dangerous part of the challenge.
exactly. When I saw that, I thought, oh wow, they hit one of those with a taser, the person's gonna be out of it. But
Yeah.
it didn't look like it really affected them.
Which would have been great if someone gets hit in the leg and they just like "Nyeh," and they fall down.
Yeah, I was like, this show is great. But then I was like, oh, they set him to freaking pussy mode.
Right,
And then dudes are just tackling each other off the 10-foot platform at that point.
right.
Which, that's kind of stupid. We talked about that before.
So, and again, in the beginning of this challenge, they do the part where Kronos has to, they have to sit two people out, and they can't sit out Mercy because she sat out last time, which I'm glad they did that. That's I think a throwback from Survivor right there, because you can't just be sitting the same person.
Now. But can we talk about this bullshit of evening up the teams?
Well, yeah. Well, we'll get to that
That's
right
a
after.
load of horse shit.
Let's finish talking about the challenge and we'll get there because that's a great point. And I kind of disagree with you there, so that'll be interesting.
Oh, I wish you were next Mad Punch. I'm ready to stop watching the show. I was so stupid. I hate that part. Take Frank and put him on the other team. Fuck that, dude.
So I thought it was interesting though that when Kronos was trying to choose who they wanted, like they just were like nobody wanted to make a decision. Like they're like, Mercy, you decide. And she's like, I'm not gonna decide. And it finally because Luke asked Danielle, "What's your decision?" She had to just kind of decide at the last second. Like it was kind of all on her right there.
Who'd she decide on? I forgot.
Her and Danielle and the two girls sat out. I think was it Danielle and the Zed. I think sat out. So it ended up being Mercy and Frank and Jr. or no and Jeffrey. Like during the challenge, and one other. Who am I missing?
Wait, Frank and Jeffrey did caps, the blasting cap things?
Yeah, and then Jesse and Mercy did the putting the thing together. The putting the copper conductors together. There was the two parts of the challenge. You know
Was
what I
that
mean?
Was that Mercy that was with Jesse?
Yeah, yeah, yes, it
Okay,
was.
and they both kind of fucked it up pretty bad.
Yeah, and actually, they started out real good, and Jesse was saying that they were even communicating real well. And I was interested in your thoughts on this challenge because, like, what kind of strategy would you have had in that? Because it seemed like both teams just went into it. I mean, like you would do any puzzle, you just start kind of putting things together where you can,
Right.
But it seemed like uh, the other team was way behind.
Well, I saw JR laid everything out first. He got all the pieces and laid them on the ground and put the ones of similar sizes next to
Oh,
each
did he?
other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it showed it for a brief second, but he was sitting there and he was like, none of them are the same size. So every one of them was a different size.
Oh, yeah.
And but he had them all laid out kind of in order of their size. So I think that's a lot better than just running back to a random pile going, oh, try this one, try this one. You're kind of like, okay, we tried this big one, let's try this big one.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely think they had it more together and a better plan of attack. Once they finally got up there, it took the other team forever to get the freaking whatever those fucking things are.
The copper conductors.
Detonator singing the big.
Yeah, they called them copper conductors, like the rods. So and then well in the beginning, Frank was killing that challenge again. He ran up there, grabbed the copper conductors out of the manure, and was like throwing, and he was like digging them out and making sure he had at least another one for Jeffrey too. And he was just
As usual, not a big surprise. Frank is killing the competition.
yeah, no, absolutely.
And
No, you're teaching out Frank.
well, what?
I think I'm starting to like him now, man. Like he's a good competitor and he's a little bit more strategic than you might think.
Well,
Although,
this time around, this week, it really did reveal a little bit of strategy on his part.
yeah,
But I think he's kind of thrust into revealing it because of this whole bullshit evening of the teams
absolutely.
that I'm waiting to talk about.
No, he was. So, well, and one other thing I just want
Bullshit.
during that challenge was it was kind of I was finding these mid-challenge interviews or like these confessionals that
Where Luke Tipple brings him out.
well, no. This is like literally during the challenge. Like it'll flash to like as like the Jeffrey and Frank were like digging out the rods. All of a sudden, it'll flash to like Jeffrey going like they're going so much faster than us, and I was so worried about it. Or he wasn't even say I was worried. He's talking like as it's happening right now.
Oh, I got you. But you know that they recorded it after.
Yeah, I mean, or do they like really like stop in the middle of like the challenge and record these little things?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I noticed that they did that too with a couple other ones, and it kind of almost gives away what's going to happen at the end.
Well, I mean, I guess it just kind of took me out of it. I mean, if you want to be real about it, let's talk in like in the past tense, and let's not act like it's happening right now. If they're doing the interviews afterward,
Other shows do that too. I've seen other shows do that.
yeah,
Where they say I assume they tell the person, okay, describe it as
yeah,
it's happening in the moment.
that's true. No, I think I see that like Top Chef and shows like
Right.
that. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's true. That's
But
true. For some reason, that was bugging me.
yeah, you can't hate on them too much.
Yeah,
No, nobody's gonna watch them if they listen to our podcast. They're gonna be like,
okay,
that show
so
sounds like it sucks.
all right, so now
But
let's get to it. You've been wanting to talk about this whole time.
fucking bullshit.
So okay, Epoch wins. They come back from behind, and it was hard to tell during the editing, but it seemed like once they like got up there, they just really killed it in the second part anyway. And so they had the choice, obviously, to go to the future or the past. Obviously, they choose the future, but more importantly, they got to choose who on the other team they wanted to keep, which obviously was no brainer. I don't think anybody thought that they wouldn't pick Frank. And of course, they picked Frank. And they changed everything.
The only other person I thought that might get picked is Jeffrey.
Really?
Because
Why?
of the alliance with JR. I thought maybe JR would sway them to bring Jeffrey over since he'd been, allied with them supposedly this whole time.
See, but I think that would take away their advantage of. I mean, being you want to like an alliance with somebody on the other team. That gives you more of an advantage, I think.
I guess.
Bringing him over would have taken that advantage away.
Yeah, but his ass has to go to the past now.
Hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I hate Jeffrey. But let's talk about this whole evening of the teams. Here's my stance on this bullshit.
Okay.
Okay, if you're on the team that keeps winning, it doesn't fucking matter because if you win more than 2 or 3 times in a row,
Uh,
they're gonna fucking take one of your players and give it to the other team. That's fucking bullshit.
right.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
do that, restructure the teams like Survivor does. I'm
Just
sorry. That's
just kind
my
of well, you think just we rather just have a merge and just like pick out of a hat and just kind of random
hey,
teams.
if they're gonna decide that this team having 2 more players is just way too crazy, then
Right.
fucking do what Survivor does. Pick out of a hat, smear
Hmm.
some paint on yourself, whatever.
Right.
But
That it does seem a little bit more fair because obviously
totally
the other
unfair because
teams.
there's no point in fucking winning competitions or having team strategy because you're like, who cares if we win and keep our team strong? They just gonna take one of our best players anyway.
Well, you know what? I mean, I guess they did have. I mean, if the other team won, if Kronos would have won, they could have chose who to
They
throw
could have
over,
get rid of one of their shitty
and
players,
and they
yeah.
would have thrown over Jeffrey or
Still
Mercy.
unfair though. Still unfair if you're on the winning team and you've got to be thrown onto the losing team just
Right.
because Luke Tipple says so.
But if you have somebody on your team that's like a cancer, someone you want to get rid of, which happens a lot in these
I
shows, then
understand
it might be
it can
perfect.
be advantageous in certain situations, but
Right.
overall, as fairness for each player on that team that keeps winning, they deserve to stay on the winning team. They're working as a team, they're playing as a team,
Right.
and then all of a sudden Luke Tipple says, one of you motherfuckers go over there. And you're like,
Yeah.
hey, what the hell? I've been playing the team player shit this whole time trying to win with my team. Now I got to go to the losing team. Great. Thanks a fucking lot, people.
Yeah. No, and I see what
And
you're
it
saying.
totally
I feel
kills the
like
person's game that has to change teams. Like they have to go start over against a bunch of people that are in alliance, and he's the enemy to them. So,
right.
you know what I mean? Like they took Frank because he's good at challenges, but they're just saving him to take out Jesse, and they're like either one goes down, it doesn't matter. I don't know,
Right.
man. I just think it's dumb that it just makes the whole show, a whole thing, seem pointless
Hmm.
if winning and keeping your team strong doesn't matter because they're just going to take your players away from you anyway. Whether or
Well, I
not
mean,
it's your best player or your worst player, even if you got to give up your worst player, you still got to give up your teammate. And then that guy, he's on the winning team and he gets fucked, even though
well,
he's
truthfully,
getting.
man, I think that whatever team had Frank on it was gonna be winning.
Yeah,
And I think that if the producers want to have a lot of really physical challenges,
and
and
that's
which
all
they
they
did in the
have.
beginning, well, yeah, and like the first, I mean, there's only 2 weeks left in the show, I think. So, I mean, it's basically over now, and they pretty much had all physical challenges. They threw a little puzzle here in the end, but I mean, overall, it's been all physical challenge. So if you're going to do that, and you're going to throw a guy like Frank in there, you're going to have to expect that whatever team he's on, and then you throw a bunch of people, just kind of random people together, like obviously, I mean, maybe they didn't expect him just to like dominate every challenge like he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, Survivor gets the bigger guys on there, but somehow it doesn't seem to be as important because the games have puzzles
Absolutely.
and stuff like that. Every single one of these is physical. I mean, this one, like the Dynamite, whatever one, that's probably been the least physical so far.
Oh yeah, no,
And then
definitely.
the Duel of Destiny, which I'm sure we'll talk about later, that was actually pretty damn physical. And they
Yeah,
really didn't say how physical it was going to be, so they threw, what's her name
right.
in there, and she got rocked. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, those last challenges are strange too. So, but I thought overall, like these last 2 episodes were actually better. But I mean, again, we can kind of nitpick all day on this. So,
yeah, anyway, let's move past it. I'm pissed though.
see, I really thought I mean, they were back to they had to do something. Maybe that wasn't the best thing to do.
The
Maybe they
only
should
good
have.
thing was that Frank got to stay in the future, which he needs to.
He loved that, didn't
Like that guy needs his food. He's huge.
he? Yeah. So so after this, like the next big thing, we had Cronus's like kind of reaction to the past. What did you think about that? It seemed like they were not ready for that at all. Like
Yeah,
the
that
having to
was
do a fire and just eating the way they were, and maybe after those luxuries, they were just so pampered. They just it was just too much for them.
Well, they were over there for what 3 or 4 weeks, so they kind of like just went from being in the normal world to being in this future house, and then right then was when they really first experienced like those survival type conditions,
Hmm.
and that's you know that's what the other team experienced from day one. So they kind of went through it all together, and it was like a big thing. And
Right.
these people never went through it, but they're adjusting a day or two of feeling like shit, and then they seem to be all right.
Yeah, it seemed like that first week was rough for him, and I'm sure next week it's not going to be as bad for him.
I'm hoping they win and come back, but now they don't have Frank anymore.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them now, dude. I think it's going to be real tough for them.
And I
I
like
think,
how they can kick ass the whole time, and then one challenge completely destroys their team because it makes them lose
yeah,
their best player. That's kind of fucking stupid.
no, absolutely. Now, I would absolutely have to say the other team is definitely the favorite now. It was switched just by Frank, but again, dude, if you're going to have a guy like that on the show, you got to expect it.
And this whole time, I thought they were voting the favorites based on the underdog, but obviously it's just JR has a lot of friends who are voting for him and probably paid some programmers to write some bots to fucking make fake Twitter accounts.
Well, that might be true. That might be true. I see a lot of that on Twitter, man. A lot of fake accounts. So yeah, I would not be surprised.
Who knows? Or maybe the producers just sit there and adjust little sliders all day.
Right.
Let's put JR in the lead. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah,
Right.
call it the Twitter index.
All right. So okay. So at one point, Epoch goes out, and they all sit in the jacuzzi. Frank's not there, and they kind of have this moment where they kind of talk about, "Hey, look, we're all still the wolf pack here, and Frank is kind of the outsider. So when this next thing comes up, if we get a chance, we're going to put Frank versus Jesse up." And they all kind of decide, "Yeah, that's what's going to happen."
It
All
makes
right.
sense. I wasn't surprised.
But that didn't last long, because
Well,
okay,
Jesse got
okay,
protected. The other team knew that was going to happen, so they
yeah.
protected Jesse.
Right. So would you have put Frank against somebody else just to start kind of taking him out? Which what's what Frank was expecting though.
They don't want Frank to lose, and they don't have someone to go against Jesse.
Right. Yeah. No. For sure. You're right. And they kept bringing that up. The girls especially that that we want to keep them around. Um,
The
so
girls are stringing JR along, but they're definitely in tight. I mean, you just tell by the sleeping arrangement when they all huddle their beds together. All the guys are sleeping kind of isolated, and then the two girls are basically lezzing out on the bed together.
right.
It's like, okay, well, that's where what's going on. These two are in alliance.
Yeah.
They're running things. They got
They definitely seem to have a strong alliance. I'm interested to find out how far JR is in this alliance, because that'll just be interesting to see later on. It's the editing has been strange in this. It seems like they're really not showing a lot of some of the strategy talk.
yeah, maybe they don't want to spoil it or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm sure we'll find out later on that.
I think between the two girls, if they had a choice between cutting one of them or cutting JR, they definitely cut JR, which is the argument they were going with to the other. Who was saying that? Frank, right? Was saying, "Hey, dude, you're at the bottom of that alliance. I don't know what you're thinking. Let's do a guys alliance
Yeah,
and break these girls up and get one of them out of here."
yeah, and and we're almost there, dude. We'll talk about that too. That's coming up on the live show. And that's I think that was one of the most interesting parts of this. Actually, we're starting to see some real strategy happen here, so that's going to be cool. So anyway, okay, so on this episode, still on number 7 here, we get the favorites. So Luke brings everybody out, and we find out that Jesse is the favorite this week for Kronos, and Jeffrey is obviously the least favorite. Um, so what do you think about that? Like Jesse being the favorite this week? I think that maybe like we were talking about it. Jesse like was doing pretty good last week. A lot of people, I think, saw him actually like protecting his team and being a little bit more of a better guy. And so it seems like he got some that was positive for him on this popularity index.
Yeah, I mean, they announced it last week that he was going to be the favorite, and of course, I was stoked because him and Frank are my two favorite guys in the show.
Right.
But he didn't get the vote at the end, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. So and then we showed like their
He got a really gay prize too. His gay prize was to get to hang out with one of the other team members. Like, who gives a shit? You get to do that every week anyway when you go out to the front and talk to them all.
Right, but that's a great point. I thought that for who he picked was good because I guess who would you pick? And it was I thought it was smart to pick Frank.
Because
And
Frank's going to tell him straight up what's going on. And he probably needed to gauge what Frank was feeling at that point too.
yeah,
Having gone to the other team, is he still with them? Is he going to, be
well, and you're right.
involved?
And right before that, they were kind of looking through the window and saying like, "Hey, like Frank's really like seems like he's fitting in over there." And so I think that was why he did that for
But
sure.
then later, when they do the gay thing where Luke Tipple brings Frank out by himself, Frank and the other team's not going to hear any of it. Frank says, "I'm just trying to get into Team Epoch right now because I don't see myself going back to Kronos at any point." So
Yeah,
that's where his true loyalties lie is to Epoch now because he's like, "Fuck it, this is my new team. What can I do?"
absolutely. Well, but then and then again, but once it comes down to it, he really does. Once he has a chance, he does bring up to Jr. about the alliance between the girls, and we'll get into that and well, just in a second here. I just had a couple more things on this last episode.
All right,
Let's
hurry
see.
up.
Jesse, like when they're all kind of all talking to each other, Jesse suggests the Jr. Steve alliance. This is where I thought the strategy here is finally starting to come out. With Jesse, he thinks that he's trying to get this kind of cross team alliance going with Jr. and Steve, Jeffrey and Jeff. Kind of a guy alliance, cross thing, and it was kind of a theme throughout the last two episodes. And they didn't really like show it a ton, but it was there, and I think that's going to be important later on. If
I thought Jesse and Frank both got a little of their strategy exposed. Finally, I was thinking, finally they're showing some strategy from these
right,
guys.
yeah,
And yeah, exactly. They're like trying to get Frank to get JR to break up the girl alliance, and
right.
they're saying, who are we gonna pick if we have to pick someone? I thought for sure he'd throw Jeffrey up there if he got picked, though. I was like, Jeffrey is such a little bitch. He never wants to do the elimination thing.
Hmm.
He's always fighting with Jesse. He's in an alliance with the other team. I mean, he's a worthless loser.
Well, I mean, I think that's where Jesse's strategy comes in, and I think it's good for him if he can keep a couple people around him like Jeffrey, who aren't so much liked by the public, and he can kind of get to the end with them using alliance. If it ends up like maybe, Twitter decides who's the winner is going to be, and he's up there with Jeffrey, he's going to win. So maybe that's what he's thinking.
Does anyone know how the show ends? Do they vote like
No,
that, or is there a
as
jury?
far as
Or
far as I know, it's just kind of up in the air. We're going to find out we'll find out what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything as far
I
as
guess
that
that is
goes.
a cool thing about the first season. You don't really know.
We have no idea.
Then you don't really know if there's going to be a second season either.
Yeah, I think it's pretty popular. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another one, which it'll be cool.
Sci-fi's pushing it. You see, they moved it to a new time slot.
Yeah, no, I did. Yes,
They pushed
yes.
up the
Which
time slot, so it must be getting ratings.
yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so one last thing I want to talk about in this episode, we had like again, it kind of
Wait. Can I just bitch about Sci-Fi's website? How they don't let you watch Opposite Worlds episodes anymore? Thanks a lot, Sci-Fi, you assholes.
oh
Fuck you, Sci-Fi.
yeah, they should put that doesn't make any
Now I
sense.
have to go pirate your fucking shit off the fucking internet and risk getting like virus or something. Thanks a lot, dickheads.
All right. So, okay, one last thing I wanted to talk about this episode, and like I was saying before, it kind of pertains to what we were talking about before, just kind of Kronos's like integration into the past here. Danielle has this breakdown, and it didn't seem like it took very long, like maybe a night or so. And again, I guess they were just so like pampered there in the future. But she just seemed like the one who just really couldn't handle it.
Now, look at her. She's a pretty blonde chick. I mean, she's probably never had to go through shit like that before.
Yeah, I'm sure if she would have, you
Roughing
kind
it for
of,
her probably means she can't find a guy to buy her dinner that night. She has to pay her own check.
oh,
That's kind of cool. On. Damn it, I gotta cut that out.
so, well, I don't know. She's like, right now, I don't know. All right, yeah, I guess you're gonna have to go there. God damn. I was just gonna try to move along. That's hilarious. Okay, I want to finish up on that point though. Hang on. um, blah, blah, what was I saying? So, okay, so yeah, I guess I don't think that. Oh God, hang on. I'm totally
I
lost
threw
right
you
now.
off to
No, I'm just lost here.
I need to smoke a
Um,
cigarette. Hurry up.
okay. All right,
Luke
so
Tipple!
no, no,
Can
it
I
just
talk about Luke Tipple real quick?
all right. Hang on.
Can we
Let
do
me
like
finish my point off.
a Luke Tipple translation show, like game show, where we're like, we say the word and then you try to guess what word we're saying in English?
We should do that for the next episode.
The
That's pretty
word is loive.
good. All
What
right.
is Luke Tipple trying to say will be the name of the game show. What is Luke Tipple trying to say? Welcome back to the game. Right.
I just want
Right.
him to start putting some more like mates and another shrimp on the Barbie and stuff
Oh,
in there.
mate. Did you hear one of the people said g'day to him?
Oh wow, did they?
Is somebody Australian on the show? I don't think there is any Australians, right?
No.
And he's all, "Hey, g'day, mates." And one of the girls was like, "G'day. Throw another shrimp on the Barbie, Luke Tipple." I don't know who it was, though.
All right. So at the end of this episode, you have let's see. JR goes, or I mean, Jeffrey gets put in isolation, right? And then they have to decide the deciders, for the individual teams. And without Jeffrey, Kronos decides Jesse is going to be the decider, the protected that week, if you will. And on the other side, JR is picked obviously because of his injury. Which obvious, I think that was pretty obvious. I don't think you
Plus,
could have.
Steve hadn't done one yet. They needed to get him out there, and he seemed ready.
Right. And I'm sure they picked Jesse just because he had been at the top, so they figured, hey, maybe he's got the best chance of winning.
Exactly. They thought he might become the decider.
Right. And then at the end, you get Luke Tipples gives us our little clue for the that episode that week: twists, turns, and tangles.
Which I think that people are learning helps them absolutely shit.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to throw you off with that.
They're like, "Oh, it's gonna be about ropes and knots and it's it's just some stupid rope on the ground with a freaking metal thing on it." That was the whole competition, right? A thing on the ground with a metal thing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which brings us into a live show, right?
With a bunch of goofy obstacles that weren't really even interactive. The only interactive obstacle seemed to be the barrel. Every other obstacle was just they go around it.
Well, yeah, and that proved to kind of be the most difficult, absolutely. Oh
And the
no.
most physical. It seemed like it was really hard to get that shit through there. I mean, I seen the girl slamming her hand on there and it wasn't moving. I was like,
Yeah,
I would have stuck my foot on it or something. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with these idiots.
that's,
I would
that's
have fucking kicked the fucking. I would have broke the fucking barrel in half if I had
all
to.
right.
You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck do you do? Just if Frank was doing that,
If Frank would have done it,
Frank would
exactly.
have said barrel smash and just broke the thing with his hands, like it crushed it like it was a
Yeah.
soda can or something.
He went with that fake cactus and just kicked it out of the ground.
Yeah, he picked that thing up, throw it in the audience or whatever.
That tub would have flipped the tub over. All right, all right. Well, let's go back to the beginning of the live episode. So, all right, they start out the live episode with a little bit of strategy again. They kind of have like these in team like personal meetings with each other to kind of figure out who they want to put up in the challenge. So, Jr. has his one-on-one with Frank. Frank lives up to his word to Jesse and brings up the Sam and Lauren alliance, which I thought that JR really, it was bugging him, but he that's the first I saw that he does see that there's an alliance there, and I think
But
I
I don't
think that
think Frank's doing that just for Jesse. I think he's just doing that because it seems like a good strategic move from his standpoint.
right, but he didn't come up with that. Jesse did. He was even like, well, what am I going to do? In the
Oh,
last
really?
episode.
Yeah, I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
catch that. That
and
Jesse
Jesse's
laid
like,
that on
well,
him, huh?
oh yeah, he was like, yeah, no. When they had that little meeting, which was why Jesse had that one-on-one with him. I think he brought that up to him when he brought in the dead squirrel.
Wonder what he's gonna do with that squirrel.
I know he's gonna. It's gonna be his jock if he has to ever go on the other side.
I guess. Huh?
So,
Gonna have
but
sex.
I thought that actually worked pretty good because it did really bring that up in JR's mind. That well, I'm sure he thought about it already. Just that the girls seem real tight. But if there is a three, if they end up those three, that he would be on the bottom. I think is what he was worried about. So you know, then we,
Isn't that what he told Jr.
what do you mean? Yeah, no. Well, Frank said that brought up the alliance, like saying that Sam and Lauren have an alliance, and this is all what he brought up to Gr. And Gr was like definitely like, oh yeah, you know, you're right.
But then he went and talked to Lauren, and he was
Lauren,
like, "Are we cool?" And she's like, "Oh, don't worry, dummy. Yeah, we're all good."
yeah,
And
yeah,
I could see through that, you know, like I could see she's just playing the fool.
yeah. But it seems like he believes her. It
Of
does.
course he does. He's a fucking retard. He's a halfwit. I don't know why he keeps getting all these damn votes on Twitter.
Yeah, that's
Guy,
interesting.
guy's a fucking moron. He can't even talk.
So then they showed Jeffrey's punishment was just kind of like nothing. He just slipped out in like the little back area there.
They're
Like,
like, yeah, you get a day of nobody harassing you. Oh, gee, what a punishment.
I mean, it happened to be kind of raining a little bit that night, but I don't think it was that bad. It was no Survivor again.
I'm sure he's just in his hammock whacking off to gay porn the whole time anyway. Should I cut that out too?
Yeah.
Could I say he's just in his hammock whacking off?
Yeah, no, he did, and then in the end, he didn't see. It didn't seem like. I mean, well, he said, "Oh, it was like the worst night of his life," but I don't. I think he was playing it up. You know, I don't think it was
Of
as bad.
course he was. He's a little drama queen.
Right. Okay, so Jared, like you brought up before, Jared talked to Lauren. He brought up, you know, the thing about the alliance and all that. But what I thought was interesting about that, which is kind of what we were talking about before, with I don't think that their editing is really showing a lot of the early strategy, was after he brought that up, Lauren said, "Hey, like we've had an alliance from day one," and they gave like a little fist bump, like that was their thing, like from day one. Like it was specifically Lauren and Gr. I guess kind of went aside and said, "Hey, we
That's
have
all she could come up with was we had a fist bump.
right."
That didn't seem very genuine to me. That seemed like, no, remember we had the fist bump thing. Yeah, we're all good, buddy. Don't forget the fist bump. All right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it did, and I agree with it, absolutely. But he definitely, I mean, it seemed like he was like all about it. So I mean,
Well, yeah,
I,
he believed her. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see what we don't see. I mean, maybe they talk a lot more than we know. You know?
No, he just sees a pretty girl and it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it does seem like that. I mean, at least
At
well,
least in the editing, it just seems
yeah.
like he's kind of just like, oh boy, blonde hair and titties.
So then let's see, Jared talks to Sam and Lauren, and both of them when they talk about who they want to put up in the challenge at the end, the elimination challenge. Is that what they call it? What do they call it? Elimination challenge? What's the last one?
It's the DOD.
Right. Right. What does it stand for?
It's Duel of Destiny.
Thank you. There you go. That's it. Duel of Destiny. I should have had that. Yeah.
There's the Worldly Challenge
Yeah, the Worldly
and the
Challenge.
Duel of Destiny.
Destiny. It said just the Elimination Challenge.
Well,
But okay.
Tipo.
I forgot.
All right, the past
It's like this is not Survivor.
and the future. It's the game. The game
So
is on.
true to this idea of like Sam and Lauren have this like alliance. They both bring up let's take Steve out, okay, to Jr.
Well,
And
not take him out. They said they want him to go up and win, right?
yeah, no, well, no, well, of course, but they're saying like, hey, if you're gonna put up anybody, let's throw Steve out there, right? You know, and throw him against one of the girls. Maybe it's just they're saying yeah, let's try to
Yeah.
keep our guys strong. Let's try to keep us strong, but hey, don't put us up. Let's throw Steve out
Well,
there.
here's the totem pole how it works. Lauren and Sam at the
Uh,
top.
yeah,
JR under them.
uh,
Steve under that, right?
yeah.
And then Frank
And
under that.
But now it seems like Frank might be coming above Steve though because he's more
No,
like
no,
they need him a little bit more for the challenges.
no. When Jesse was protected,
Uh,
you all just automatically assume that protected Frank because they're saving Frank for
Yeah.
when Jesse's not protected. So who's next on the list? Steve.
Steve,
Not going to be
that's true.
JR, especially with his broken damn foot.
Right.
And it's definitely not going to put at risk one of the girls going home because they're in it to win it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, logically, I was not surprised at the choice.
Right. Yeah.
It seems
And
pretty logical.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, real quick though, I had a thought here. It's like because they showed a lot of Jeffrey little scenes. He gets a lot of these little confessionals and stuff. And
But
is he trying too hard to be a villain? Like, has he watched just too much reality television? He just went in there saying, "I'm going to be the villain, and that's what I'm going to do."
I don't know that he knows he's a villain.
You don't think?
Maybe he does. I guess he does. Because
Dude,
he's
last
like, "Are
week,
you kidding me? I can cry on cue
exactly.
and on this and that."
Yeah.
I think he's just drama, though. I think he's just going with whatever he feels like going with at the moment. Kind of like a woman.
Right.
I might need to edit that out, too. God damn it. There's going to be a lot of editing on this one, buddy. No, but what was I going to say?
We'll have this one
Oh,
out in three
you know
weeks.
how we just broke down the freaking power structure on Epoch, or however you say the
Yeah.
shitty name?
Epoch.
Um,
Yeah.
what about Kronos? Tell me what's the power structure there? I couldn't tell you.
Oh, well, I would say Jesse's at the top definitely because well at this point Jesse, I would say Jesse and Jeffrey at the top because they're the only ones talking strategy.
Really? I would say
Yeah.
Jeffrey at the bottom.
No, and then I would say, and then maybe Lizette because
They
she's been
never
there.
show her. She hardly ever says a word.
I mean, obviously Mercy's on the bottom.
Yeah, I would say Mercy at the bottom. Now
Uh,
that Danielle's gone, what was her name? Danielle?
yeah, Danielle.
It doesn't fucking matter now that Danielle's gone, really.
Uh, dude, I'm telling you, Jesse's at the top. Mercy's on the bottom. I definitely I'd have to put Jeffrey just below him because Jesse wants Jeffrey
Can they
for
say,
this
hey,
cross team
hey, Luke
alliance.
Tipple, can we have Frank back now that the teams aren't uneven anymore?
Exactly. Is that going to happen now
Yeah,
eventually?
yeah, come on, Luke Tipple, you jerk
Well,
off.
like I said, dude, they only have like 2 weeks left, so I think this is going to wrap up pretty quick here in the next
You
few
heard,
episodes.
you heard what LT said at the end of the show, right?
What would he say?
He's like, there's 4 episodes left,
Yeah. Oh.
and somebody's getting eliminated every show.
Oh. All right. All
We're
right.
gonna lose 2 people a week. That'll bring us down. Right now we're at 9, right? That'll bring us down to 5
Yeah,
at the
nine
end,
people. Yeah.
and that's still, even if we lose 2 next week, that brings us down to 7. Then if we only have
So
one
you have
more
five
week,
people left in the last episode?
there's like 7 people in the finale. What the fuck?
Oh no, 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 no! If there's 4 episodes left, and you're well, yeah, I guess yeah, that would leave you five
The
or
last episode,
six
you'd have
people.
6
on the last.
people. Yeah, 6
So
people.
I'm assuming before that though they'll have like kind of one of these double episode things or whatever where they'll get rid of a couple people.
Or maybe they'll just do a really hardcore like end thing where they say, "All right, 3 people advance on this challenge," and then that's it. There's 3 left. You know?
Right, and I'm assuming them to involve Twitter somehow in these decisions because it's that's kind of like their go-to for this show. Like that's kind of their
It
thing.
seems the eliminations are based on fighting each other usually.
Right,
They don't vote people off that way. They vote who will fight that way.
right, yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
So okay, let's see. Oh, so Jeffrey and JR's fake fight. What did you think about that?
No, that was really a fake fight.
Well, Jeffrey walked up to him and said, "All right, get mad at me." And they had a little confessional with JR, and he was like, so he came up and said that, and I thought it was brilliant that we just pretend like we're fighting now. So they did it, and it seemed like the teams kind of fell for it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I fell for it. I didn't realize they said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hell yeah, no, that was all set up, and just kind of throw people off that they have an alliance. But
Don't
I
get me
don't think
wrong.
that's Jesse at all.
I think Jeffrey's smart. I
Uh,
just think that he tries too hard to get drama and strategy going when he should have maybe laid back and waited a little bit.
yeah, see, I think he's just really trying hard to do strategy, but he's just not very smart.
He wants
It's
to
not
be
very
a
good.
guy who makes moves, but he's making like too many moves and moves at the wrong time. You know.
You're
But
right.
he's still smart. He's still a smart kid. I mean, he's a lot smarter than some of these other players. But
Yeah, hopefully that night out gave him some time to really focus his game there.
yeah, I'm interested to see how Jeffrey comes back now that he spent that time there. He definitely talked to Jesse, and it seemed like, I don't know. I thought Jesse was just playing him and going to put him up, but it seemed like Jesse was really not planning on putting him up.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, that's part of this cross team alliance that Jesse's going for, which I think really protects Jeffrey because he wants Jeffrey with him. He wants Steve and Jr. from the other team.
Jr. Yeah, Frank, of course.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think Jesse wants Frank in that alliance. I think he wants just those four guys
I wanted to take
and,
Frank out.
and just to take everybody else out.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's I think he's playing the smartest strategic game as far as that's concerned about like playing both teams and stuff and having two people on the other
Jesse or
team.
Jeffrey?
Jesse.
Jesse. Okay.
Yeah, no, this was all Jesse's. Jeffrey is trying, like he came up with like, oh, like hey, I'll have an alliance with Jeffrey, or with Jr. But Jesse's using that and saying, hey, he's doing the smart thing, which I thought this before. Like you can't just have one person on one team, one person on. You have to have four people exactly. You have to have one guy with you and then one guy. So you got two people on each team, and that's four people alliance. That's gonna make a bigger difference, I think, in the game.
Yeah, I agree. Let's wrap it up, though. I gotta go.
All right, cool. So, okay. So in the end, let's see. Well, it was weird. Jesse just, like I said, he wanted to take out a girl. Luke cuts off Frank live during the live interview. By the way, did you see that? That was
Oh,
kind of
God, made
funny.
me so mad.
That was
I was so fucking
uncomfortable, man.
pissed. I was like, and you saw Frank's face for like 5 minutes. It never
He,
changed. He's
he
like,
was kind
what
of
the fuck? I'm
yeah.
trying to say hi to my family, and you guys cut me off.
He gave him.
Oh God,
He's like anything you want to say to his family, and he gave him about three
I would
seconds.
have punched Luke Tipple right in the face.
Well, considering Luke
God, that
Tipple,
guy just can't find any more reasons to piss me off, can he?
it took him about 10 seconds to explain to him that, so he
Right,
could have given him an extra
right.
five
You could have
seconds.
just let him keep talking, and then he goes off on this schmarmy douchebag rant about blah 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 blah
I
blah
think he,
blah blah
I think he was
blah.
worried Frank was going to punch him in the
I
face.
think he was. He should have been worried, that dumb fucking idiot. I can't believe he did that to Frank. I was like, dude, Frank is gonna crush this guy in a minute. Frank's just looking all confused, like, what the fuck, man? I'm trying to say what's up to my family after I've been here for weeks and weeks, and you cut me off after 3 seconds, you piece of shit.
Oh
God,
man.
I
Well,
was.
he's got more time out there than anybody too. That must be weird for the other players.
Who does?
Frank, he keeps like they keep pulling him out for these like live interviews.
Yeah, they're like, God damn, Frank's an all-star.
Okay, so real quick, what did you think about the Quidditch match?
I thought it's kind of ridiculous.
You're not a fan now?
No,
No.
I
You don't want to maybe next weekend let's get together and get some rings and some
rub,
fucking
rub,
brooms. No? No?
rub,
All right.
rubbing my balls on a piece of wood while I throw a ball around and run into other dudes.
All right.
Maybe
You
if
don't
I
want
could have
splinters on
caught,
your
if
balls?
I could have copped a feel on one of those hotties, yeah. I'm gonna have to edit that out, aren't
Yeah, you can leave that in.
I?
Okay, so the end of the show we got Jr. Wait a minute, Jr. wins and picks Steve versus Danielle. Jr. wins the favorite, of course, between him and Jesse. That wasn't very surprising. Again, he picks Steve versus Danielle in the final challenge, and yeah, so you had this
Wait,
challenge.
wait, wait. When they picked Jr. over
Uh,
over Jesse, right? Did you see Jesse's face? He
yes,
thought he was gonna win.
yeah, he
When they
did.
said Jesse got this little smile on his face like he just won, and then they go Jr.
It was hard to tell through the mud on his face, but yeah, yeah, you're right.
And Luke Tipple asked him about the mud, and he didn't really answer.
Yeah, he
He
was like,
gave
"Is that a whole
some.
barbarian thing?" And he should have been like, "Yeah." He was like, "Meh."
Yeah, he said some weird shit that made no sense.
It didn't like it kind of did, but yeah, I don't.
I don't know. Maybe he forgot he had mud on his face. I don't know.
He's like, "I'm not a barbarian." I don't know. So okay, so we kind of talked about for this challenge, we had a rope that was, I guess they had to dig up a whole trench beforehand and wrap a bunch of stuff around things, and then they put that metal star thing. That looked like okay. First of all, they looked real cold. They went out there. I was worried that Steve, because he looked way colder than Danielle. Truthfully, at the beginning, like right before they started the competition, they were showing them both. They were Luke's talking to them both. Danielle didn't seem like she was shivering at all. She seemed kind of like she had a game face on. Steve looked like he was out there freezing. I was worried for him.
I didn't really notice. I might
Oh
not have
yeah,
been watching real closely, but I think
yeah.
Danielle should have had that challenge. Steve came out and started ripping the rope up out of the ground for some reason. I don't know what that was. But
He had a strategy of ripping the rope, and he thought it would be like easier and quicker to get that thing through, but it was so covered with mud and
dirt and water and shit.
dirt,
Yeah.
yeah, that it didn't. I don't think that really mattered.
So Danielle got way ahead of him, started working
Yeah,
on the barrel, and then he just smoked her on the barrel, and then kept
the
going.
barrel was it, man. That changed everything right there. I mean,
That changes.
yeah, no pun intended, but that really did. I mean, her just getting it through in the beginning, it seemed like she was trying to muscle it through, and then she got confused and tried to like. Then she just tried to finesse it through, and that wasn't working. And then finally she saw. I think once he caught up, she saw him like pounding it through with his hand, and I'm sure her hand was hurting. It was cold, you know.
Well, it looked like you needed to get a little slack on the rope too to be able to kind
Right,
of pull it through, and she didn't have any slack, so pulling on the rope wasn't bringing it through. So
right.
if she tried to pull it, there's no slack on the rope, so it's just going to get jammed in the hole.
Stronger hands would have helped in this
Yeah,
challenge.
having the strength to get that thing through there, like I said, she
Yeah,
was beating on that thing and it wasn't going anywhere. Like
right.
she should have been jumping on that fucking thing, but I don't know. It seemed like she kind of didn't have a lot of fight about when she got to the barrel.
Yeah, it seemed like after a few minutes, I'm sure once he caught up and passed her, that she kind of lost, a lot of.
Started panicking or something because
Yeah,
yeah, she didn't see she. I mean, she kept going. She was a trooper. It's not like she quit, but I mean, if I was her, I wouldn't be just sitting there like trying to dick with the thing all gay. I'd be like jumping on the fucking barrel, trying to
right.
break shit, something. I'd be going crazy, dude. I don't want to
Yeah,
lose.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then obviously in the end, Steve wins and Daniel goes home. So all overall, though, I thought these last two episodes were better
I wonder
than.
if Danielle was tired because she kept talking about she's not getting the proper nutrition that she needs.
Yeah, and that was their first week there. So like I was
Yeah,
saying,
their
that
little
first week's the hardest.
rundown. Yeah,
Which was what Rachel ran into, I'm sure, on her first week.
Rachel was on Kronos.
No. Oh gosh. Oh yeah, you're right. Huh. Huh.
Kronos went home the first
There
week.
goes that theory.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too, and then I was like, wait a minute, Kronos went home the first week.
Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, actually, no. Actually, that. Well, yeah, no. I'm trying to remember. It did because what's his name? The guy who broke his leg went home, but then did Rachel go home that same week? I think she did.
Oh yeah, was that a duel? That wasn't a duel of destiny. That was a
No.
worldly challenge. The one where
Yeah.
the guy broke
So
his leg. So
absolutely.
Rachel went home that week.
Right. So like I said, overall though, I liked him. I think it's getting a little bit better.
Well, I definitely
Just
like that they're exposing the strategy. I'm super pissed off about everything they did to Frank, though.
yeah. I like.
Everything they did to Frank the whole episode pissed me off, including cutting him off while he's trying to say hi to his family. That's bullshit.
I got to say, like I don't think if they didn't do that, then I think that's what made it so much more interesting this week. That everything changed. I mean, literally everything's changed. But not necessarily fair for Kronos, but I think it makes for a little bit more of a more interesting show. So it's here nor there, whatever.
Not fair at all, this whole fucking even out the teams bullshit. If they do that ever again, I'm going to personally fly wherever they film that show and punch Luke Tipple in the face.
All right, so we had a little bit of feedback on Twitter here. We've got our biggest fan at what is that? Let me make sure here. Trying to remember his name. At Highland Wizard, I think is his name. Yes, at Highland Wizard. So he brought up a point about we like what you brought up before about the popularity index and the whole Twitter thing and how a lot of people are just spouting names off on Twitter and how much of that is fake and how much is this really affecting the popularity index?
First thing I want to say, anybody that's cheating with bots or anything should be immediately kicked off the show if they get found out.
Right, but I mean, hey, you can't. I mean, like, sure, if it's somehow brought back to the
Proof, yeah.
yeah, then maybe you're right. Yeah. So, but I guess Highland Rizzer brought it up to Luke Tipple on Twitter, and Luke was saying that first of all, like when people are putting more than one name in a tweet, only the first name is counting. So like if I put Sam and Danielle or blah blah blah, it's only Sam's the only one that they're gonna take for that popularity index. So whether it's a negative or positive thing. So if you're going to tweet about a person, make sure it's about one person. If you want to talk about more, then just do multiple tweets.
Where do you have to put the hashtag opposite worlds at?
Well, I always put it at the end. I mean, that's normal. That's normal. Just put your hashtag at the end. But so yeah, he's saying to keep them separate, and also retweets count, but not favorites apparently. So when you favorite a tweet, that's just not counting, and but when you retweet it, that does count for the popularity index.
I just tweet Frank is the best.
Yeah,
You think that gets him a vote?
that's perfect. That is perfect.
All
Yes.
right, good. 'Cause
So and actually, he has one more question, which and about Frank. He asks, "Will Frank really be part of Epoch, or will that put a monkey wrench in JR and company?" So, what do you think? Like, he's basically asking. Frank is kind of saying, "Hey, like, I want to be part of this new team. Do you think he's really going to be part of the team, or is he going to try to kind of screw him over somehow there?"
I don't know. He's kind of swinging both ways right now. He said in that private interview with LT though that he's going to be going with Epoch.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're right. I think at
I
this
think that's a
point,
smart move for Frank because I don't think he's going back to Kronos anyway. Maybe try to keep his alliance with some of the people over there, but he's definitely not like they're. He's going to have to be on Team Epoch when it comes to what team he's on.
well, I think this bodes well for Frank either way because I think he still can kind of keep up that he's, I'm Team Kronos. He still has his friends, his buddies over there. They understand he has to like get in with these new people just to be around. And if he could, I think he can kind of make friends with both sides right now. I
Yeah, I
think
mean
that
he's the
might be.
only person who's switched teams so far, so that's definitely an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, if he was somebody else, someone that they didn't like wasn't so effective during challenges, then they might look at him as like, oh, we got to get rid of him. But since he is, so essential to these challenges, both he can make teams friends with both teams, and I think this is only going to help him in the end.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too, man. I think it's going to help him, and since he's tight with Jesse, it's going to help Jesse. And
Yeah,
I think anybody who gets in on that, maybe if Jeffrey and JR get on that, they might benefit from it too. But like you were
yeah,
saying earlier, trying to get rid of Frank maybe, so we'll see what happens.
yeah. So you might owe Luke Tipple an apology. He might have helped Frank win right there.
Why?
Well, like I said, I mean, now he's like kind of got friends on both
Oh,
teams. I
by
think.
having him switch? No,
Yeah,
I still don't think that's fair. Regardless, it's still
yeah,
not fair. It worked out in his favor, but it's still not fair.
right.
I
No,
don't think they should do that anymore.
they need to work on it for next season. If they do a new season, it'll be interesting.
All right, I have to ask the fans if they've seen Angela's Facebook page, if they can like it, because she was one of my favorite players too, and it sucks that she's
Uh,
out.
Oh no, that's a great point. Actually, yeah. If you're listening to this, go to or just search Angela Opposite Worlds on Facebook and the little search engine up there, and her fan page will pop up. And like her page and leave her some feedback. She was great on the show, and she didn't deserve, I think, to go out like that. So yeah, absolutely.
For real.
Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. I'm sure that went a little long, but you guys deserve it since we haven't had one up for a while. So that's perfect.
Yeah, I gotta apologize for that too. We had some technical difficulties.
No, we'll get this last week's up soon here, and this one should be soon after. So you gotta get two episodes
They'll
in one
probably
there.
go up, yeah, both at the same time, so they can watch or listen to them both.
That's perfect. And always you can get a hold of us on Twitter at TCE at TCE Podcast. You can also the website is tcecast.com. You can search for us on YouTube. I think we're still working on getting an actual That Changes Everything YouTube page. We got it, but we're just trying to get everything up there still. Um, and on Facebook. You can like us on Facebook, TCE Cast. There's also a That Changes Everything fan page. So,
You're just gonna need to do an outro, dude, because this takes too long.
right? So, all right. Well, that says it for this week, and we will see you next week.
All right, later, folks.
Hey everyone, BP here. I just wanted to say check out our website for more information and links to our podcast, tcecast.com. That's tcecast.com. Thanks for listening.